When I was a kid, the one thing I probably did more than anything else was watch TV, watch movies, play video games. But you guys already know this. It's how I became an athlete. Look at those sweet muscles. I can grease them with mayo. Mwah. I couldn't wait to turn on my favorite shows. SpongeBob SquarePants, Recess, Rocket Power, and many more. And those shows I still remember fondly, and I will always have a sweet spot for them. But what about the shows that scared the absolute crap out of me? What about the ones that just pushed the boundaries, gave no darns, no hoots, scared me till I farts and toots? Those shows I also had a sweet spot for, so join me as I talk about the shows that scared the crap out of me growing up, starting with Goosebumps. How could anyone forget about Goosebumps? It's a horror anthology show, kind of like Twilight Zone for kids. This and Diary of a Wimpy Kid were like the only books I read growing up, no matter how many times I told myself I can't read. And I still remember the first episode I've ever watched of this show like it was yesterday. The Night of the Living Dummy 2. Yeah, they skipped the first book for some reason, almost like they cranked the volume on the scary level. Well, the scary level for kids at Winnie Hut Jr. at least. It's a sweet story about a little girl who gets a doll, and the doll is alive. And I think the reason why this episode was scary for me as a kid is the fact that Slappy, the possessed doll, just did not care about being seen. He knows nobody will believe this kid and uses that to toy with her head, pun not intended. Like, he destroys her sister's paintings, he attacks her friends, he literally tries to off her parents at one point. Yeah, I was done after that. And fun fact, after watching this episode in Child's Play, I grabbed these puppets that my dad had in his closet and I threw them into the closest dumpster I can find, just to find out after that those puppets were worth like $100 a piece. Whoops! Another show that was great for kids who loved horror was Are You Afraid of the Dark? A similar show to Goosebumps that was honestly much scarier in my opinion. I mean, there was a literal episode where this thing tried to drown a bunch of kids. There was another where a demon came out of a comic book and started possessing everyone around this kid. I mean, come on! How was this a kid's show? Kid.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage the Cowardly Dog Show!
Now, Courage the Cowardly Dog, unlike Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark, doesn't advertise itself as a strictly horror show, which is kind of brilliant because they're gonna have people like me who are gonna see this show and be like, oh, it's just a cute little kid show about a dog and his family, like Clifford or Garfield, and then you're just met with this. You never know what's gonna happen next when watching Courage the Cowardly Dog for the first time. It could be silly at times, but it can also be downright terrifying at other times.
You're not perfect.
Ouch, it hurt my feelings! Not surprisingly, I wasn't allowed to watch the show growing up. But oh, not because it was 100% guaranteed to give me nightmares. No. Yeah, no, it was because the old man said stupid dog at the beginning of every episode because my parents had priorities. But that didn't stop me from waking up in the middle of the night for a quick little scare before bed. And you know what, now that I think about it, Clifford would be freaking terrifying in real life. Is that a freaking kaiju? Another kid show that honestly is not a kid show is Invader Zim. One of the funniest, greatest, most creative animated shows of all time. And I think the reason why I remember this show striking a sense of fear into me is how nonchalantly the people in the show react to genuinely terrible things happening to them all the time. Everyone except Dib, of course. It makes this world feel like a fever dream at times, and the show knows it. Which is why the character Dib's main source of terror in the show is the fact that he sees how awful things are and nobody will believe him. It's like Dib is us and the show is Zim. It's freaking brilliant and an absolute great time if you ever want to have a quick laugh and a scare, you little baby.
Stu, I didn't know you were coming over.
I'm not Stu.
Yeah, in hindsight, watching Rugrats while sick with a 200-degree fever was probably a bad idea. Oopsies.
I'm not Tommy.
There's an episode in My Life as a Teenage Robot where Jenny gets kicked out of a restaurant for being a robot, so she does the healthy thing and puts on an exosuit that hides her metallical self. And the exosuit turns out to have a mind of its own, and I think it's supposed to symbolize how Jenny feels trapped in her own skin. You know, like her metal skin. You get it, you get it. And the thought of how helpless she was and how she was hearing voices in the back of her neck, I don't know. This episode was always so memorable in the most eerie way imaginable. It definitely did make my skin crawl watching it, at least. Ugh.
Oh, brother, this place really is the pits.
Oh, what I'm gonna do to you.
Think these high-end joints would at least try to treat their guests well.
I'm so angry.
Yeah, What's up,
First, I'm gonna tear your lips out. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do. And then, I'm gonna gouge your eyes out. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that was in 2 kid shows. What the Also, if I get for that just proves that YouTube, a website for people 13 and up, is more strict than children's entertainment. So if you get me, you get yourself, buddy. And going through these memories, I noticed, and maybe even you noticed, that the main strike of fear I had as a kid was being helpless. The thought of helplessness seemed to really get to me back then, and probably to many kids as well. Which makes sense, kids are pretty helpless on their own, especially while your parents are asleep and you're just laying down alone, while the monster in the closet that you know is real, but everyone else tells you it isn't, is always watching, waiting for the perfect moment to attack with no mercy as you wait for the pain to stop. Alright, hope I brought some fear from when you were a kid back. Bonus points if I gave some kid who stumbled across this video nightmares tonight. I have no soul. Good night, everybody.